It feels like just yesterday that everyone was saying the same thing. Google totally fumbled the start of the AI race. But now, with a new model they're calling Gemini 3, they might have just pulled off the biggest comeback in tech history. So, is Google really back on top? Or is this just another hype cycle? Let's get into it.
The turnaround here is nothing short of whiplash. Think back to 2023. You had the infamous Bard launch, where a simple error in a live demo caused a total market panic and wiped out billions from their market cap literally overnight. Now fast forward to the Gemini 3 launch. Flawless release, everyone's raving about it, and the stock shoots up to an all-time high. What a difference, right? It's a tale of two completely different moments. All right, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll walk through that flop to flip story. Then we'll see why the benchmarks are making so much noise. After that, we'll explore what your new job as an AI manager could look like. Then we'll dive into the wild world of the agentic IDE wars. And finally, we'll try to answer that big question. Is this all just hype, or is it history in the making?
Okay, first up, from flop to flip. So to really get why this Gemini 3 launch is such a big deal, we need to rewind the clock back to 2023 and remember just how bad things really looked for Google.
This timeline really says it all, doesn't it? That disastrous Bard demo in early 2023 pretty much sealed the deal on this story that stuck around for a year and a half. That Google, the company that pioneered so much of this stuff, had just lost its way. And then bam, late 2025, Gemini 3 shows up. It doesn't just change the story, it blew the whole thing up and started over.
And look, this wasn't just a couple of negative articles. This was the story in Silicon Valley. The consensus was that the company that literally invented many of the core AI technologies we use today had just become this slow, bureaucratic giant that was too sluggish to even compete in the AI wave that it helped create. And then came the market's reaction. Remember that 9% stock drop after Bard? Well, this time, the stock jumped 6% to a brand new record. So yeah, Wall Street definitely saw something different this time. But what was it? Okay, that brings us to the numbers. Let's dig into the raw performance that's got everyone buzzing about Google's AI work again. So, here's the thing. AI benchmarks have gotten, kind of weird. And I mean that in the best way possible. The smartest people testing these models have moved on from just asking them to code. Now they're asking questions like, which AI knows its Pokemon silhouettes? Or which model can run a profitable simulated vending machine business? The whole game has shifted to testing for, flexible general intelligence. And what you see is a pretty clear pattern starting to show up. On these really creative, out-there benchmarks, Gemini 3 Pro is just consistently grabbing that top spot. And a lot of the time, it's by a huge margin. It's like this model has a special talent for thinking outside the box in a way the others just can't yet. And this isn't about cherry-picking one or two tests either. We're talking across the board. From the head-to-head votes on LM Arena to the creative stuff on Weird ML, all the way to complex logic problems on Math Arena. Gemini 3 is just all over the top of the leaderboards. Okay, but let's be real for a second. Benchmarks aren't the whole story. It's a great signal, sure, but it doesn't tell you how these things actually hold up out in the wild. The real test? Are companies willing to put their money where their mouth is and actually use it? And, turns out they are. Just take a look at the company AMP. They recently ripped out a competing model, Claude, and swapped in Gemini 3 Pro to run their main coding agent. And the reasoning was super simple. It just worked better. That's not some abstract score on a leaderboard. That's a real company making a real decision that affects their bottom line. But here's the thing. The model itself was only part of the announcement. Google also pulled a curtain back on a new tool called anti-gravity. And it kind of points to a massive change in how we even think about building software. So to really get this, we've got to talk about something called agentic coding. This isn't your old school autocomplete. No way. This is a whole new way of working, where the human developer just sets a high-level goal, and a team of AI agents does all the heavy lifting, the planning, the coding, even the testing. We're talking about automating the entire creative process. And this was Google's big tagline for the launch. It's a pretty wild idea, right? Maybe even a little bit scary. Your job isn't to be the hands-on coder anymore, but to be the manager of a team of AI coders, directing their work and giving the final sign-off. This changes everything for what it means to be a developer. And the new workflow they're proposing is just shockingly simple. Step 1, you just lay out the big picture goal. Step 2, the AI agents just take it from there. They plan it, they build it, they test it. And finally, step 3,
You look it over and hit approve. Your role shifts from being a creator to a curator. Now, Google isn't just dropping anti-gravity into an empty market. The race to build the main platform for agent decoding is already a full-on war, and it is a wild, chaotic, and honestly kind of bizarre scene right now.
I mean, get this, a top rival, backed by the super famous startup accelerator Y Combinator, is an IDE literally called Chad. Its whole pitch is that you can go scroll TikTok or gamble online while AI agents do all your coding for you. If that isn't a perfect sign of the times, I don't know what is. But maybe Google's biggest rival is Google. You've got IDX, which got absorbed and rebranded. You've got another project called Jules, which is also an autonomous coding agent. And now anti-gravity. They're all internal projects with overlapping goals, which, is such a classic big company problem, right? You've got all this confusion and internal competition. All right, so this all brings us back to that big question we started with. We've seen the incredible benchmarks, the real companies already using it, and this huge bet on agentic coding. So what's the verdict? Is this all hype, or are we watching history being made?
I mean, the argument that this comeback is the real deal, it's pretty strong. You've got the dominant benchmarks, you have real companies making the switch, you have a bold strategy with anti-gravity, and you have that huge stamp of approval from the stock market. On paper, it looks like they've got all their ducks in a row.
But, and this is a big but, we've got to be careful here. We have all seen this movie before in the world of AI. Getting that initial hype and excitement is the easy part. The really, really hard part is delivering real value consistently, day in and day out. That's the final boss battle that Google still has to win.
So I'm going to leave you with that question. Is this the moment Google actually took back its throne? Or is this just the peak of another exciting but maybe temporary hype cycle? We don't have the answer yet, but one thing is for sure, the race for who's on top in AI just got way, way more interesting.